Hey, I was originally planning on doing an Excellent Entities video, but I kind of scrapped the idea because it just kind of didn't have any interest in continuing it. Yeah, I know it's random, but I figured because also I'm moving. Do you kids like Cookie Run? Cookie Run Kingdom. As of this year and this month of January, Cookie Run Kingdom turns 5 years old. And I've been saying the thing about this game is now half a decade old. And to celebrate that, I'm gonna do something a bit more different than my usual videos. Talking about my favorite and least favorite cookie of each rarity. Now you might be asking to yourself, why am I D-Wad? Why am I making a video like this? Well, I wanted to make an excuse to make something for this month instead of just leaving you guys with nothing. And it's also finally an excuse to talk about Cookie Run because I wanted to. So here I'm going to lay out my ground rules. I obviously am not going to be talking about my cookie because that's not really a rarity. I will also not be talking about guest cookies since I'm only counting it for cookies that are playable. I'm also not including the dragon rarity because as of right now, it's only just one cookie and it's been like that for 3 fucking years. And as for special cookies, I'll be excluding the collab ones like the Sonic, Wicked, BTS, and Disney ones. Because fuck you, that's why. So anyways, let's start this off with the common rarity. The basic rarity, something you'll get in pretty much a lot of gacha games. They're obviously not the most super useful in the long term, but very helpful for early game. Now my least favorite common cookie is Beat Cookie. That is mainly for the fact I never cared about her. Mainly the fact that I kind of just forget she exists in this game, honestly. I know she's mainly remembered for having a nice little story with Carrot Cookie, but that's kind of really it. Hell, the closest thing she has with Carrot Cookie is like one of those Bond stories you probably like read once. Which sure might be a bit of an entertaining story, but honestly I think that's really it about her character. Now as for my favorite cookie, I know this is a pretty basic answer, but Ginger Brave. I know, it's a very basic bitch answer, but fuck you, it's my favorite common cookie in the game. Now we're off to the rare cookies. They have a bit of a longer term than common cookies, but they aren't going to be very much used for a long while. Now my least favorite cookie is pretty obviously for me, Clover Cookie. It's kind of the same issue I have with Beat Cookie. He's a character I just kind of forget exists. Like yeah, don't get me wrong, just because I think a cookie's my least favorite in that said rarity, doesn't mean I straight up dislike them. Especially later on. But Clover Cookie just doesn't really have a lot of anything interesting going around with him. I mean, at least to me, I don't really think he has done much. I mean, at least with Beat Cookie, she had a bit of a fun sub-story. That being said, I still really like his design and very much is an interesting looking one. But still, if he actually did more, I honestly would have not put him there. As for my favorite rare cookie, that's easily Devil Cookie. I really like the more demon design they've got here. They're also just a fun cookie. I just find them a fun cookie, honestly. Like, yeah, are those pretty simple reasons? Yeah, I'm aware, but you know what? That's all it needs to be. Now we're off to the epic cookies. The rarity you're gonna be using quite a lot for the game. Even by the point where you get the super epics, legendaries, ancients, beasts, and the fucking witch rarity. Epic cookies will always still have your back, especially in places like multiplayer. They also have a lot of my favorite and least favorite cookies from the entirety of the series here. So it's no surprise that the cookie I'm going to be talking about for now is not only my least favorite epic cookie, but a cookie I just straight up really just don't like. It's my least favorite in the entirety of the game, and that is Cream Brulee Cookie. Now, why don't I really like this character at all? Well, there's actually a lot of reasons. One of them is that he's a really fucking boring character in the story he was in. Like in the story he was in, he was this musician that was framed for murder, and I just couldn't fucking care about him that much. And you know, maybe I would have been able to look past that if it wasn't for his design. Now I get that. A lot of people in the community really don't like when you criticize a lot of simpler cookies. Not because they're some untouchable gods or anything, but usually whenever a cookie gets criticized for that, it's usually whenever it's just they should have been a rare cookie or a common cookie. Like magically their fucking rarity magically makes their design changes or something, I don't know. And while I agree that's stupid, I just don't like his design, period. It's just really basic. And it's a shame since we had pretty basic cookies in the series, and this is the best we've got. Like, yeah, I could have easily given the spot to Lilac Cookie, but even then, at least he had a bit of a memorable design. Now, moving on to my least favorite cookie in the entire game, here's my most favorite cookie in the entire game, Snow Sugar Cookie. I love Snow Sugar Cookie. I love the blue they have, the snowy aesthetic. I also just like the earmuffs. They're pretty cute. And it's a good example of a simple design done right. Isn't that right, Cream Brulee Cookie? Now, the next one is a weird one, the Special Rarity. For context, this rarity was exclusively made for collaborations. However, in 2023, with the release of Paillette Dragon Cookie, they made it an actual rarity that's not made exclusively for collabs. And the first of those, Snapdragon Cookie, who is my least favorite. To be honest, this was not really a hard choice. There's only 4 cookies of this rarity, and Snapdragon Cookie just happens to be my least favorite. I also just don't think they're that interesting. They're a baby, and I fucking hate babies. That being said, though, I really do like their more dragon design. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, special cookies can transform into little animals. That's pretty cool. That being said, my favorite cookie of the special rarity, Icicle Yeti Cookie. First off, I'm a really massive fan of their design. They really do stand out from the rest of the cookies of that said rarity. And the storyline they had with Snow Sugar, pretty fun. And also, I don't care what the haters say, I really do like his song. It's truly an epic banger. The only thing I'm not really a big fan of is his more Yeti design, because it fucking reminds me of the goddamn last human from Doctor Who. Next up is the Super Epics. For the most part, I'm really do liking a lot of the super epics that we got from Cookie Run Kingdom. All except for Camille Cookie, which I'm probably saying his name wrong. That's simply because I do not care about him at all. I do not care about his design. I think it just looks ugly, and that's it. Now, with that out of the way, my favorite could pretty much be any of the super epics, because I do think they're all really solid, but if I had to specifically pick one, that would be Stardust Cookie. He's up there with one of my favorite designs in the entirety of the franchise, and I love the blue hair, his giant cape, the blue eyes. I really like the black and blue. It's just really great for his design, and he's also just kind of a fun character, really. And now we're off to the legendaries, and here it just really starts to become hard which one is exactly my favorite and least favorite. Mainly because they all are just really, really solid. But if I had to pick one, I had to specifically pick one, it's unfortunately Frost Queen Cookie. Now again, do not get me wrong, she is not a bad character, but to me, she's always kind of felt like the weakest out of the legendaries we've gotten in the series so far. Like, don't get me wrong, I really like the backstory she got in the whole Snow Sugar Icicle Yeti Cookie event that we had like 3 years ago. Oh my god, dude. By default, and also by my opinion, I just think she's the weakest legendary we got in the game so far. Now, this spot could go through any of my favorite legendaries, but honestly, after thinking about it, I conclude this one as my favorite, and that being Black Pearl Cookie. Yeah, she has a hint of everything that's generally solid for a cookie like her. A great design, I love the fucking emo mermaid. And I do like how she has like 2 events dedicated to her. One for her introduction, and the other being her fucking devastating backstory that she has. I love the fact that her becoming the way she is didn't just kind of come out of nowhere. It came from just how Cookie kind of just hurt her a lot, you know? I do wish she would appear in more events, but hey, you know what? The one she is in is pretty great. Next up are the Ancients, and dude, I don't know how to tell you this. This is genuinely the one I've had the hardest time picking. They're all equally great and fun characters, but if I had to pick one, if I had to specifically pick one, it would be Dark Cacao Cookie. Like I said with Snow Queen Cookie, it's more by default. I still really like his character, and the stuff he has with his son is definitely interesting. But just out of all the ancient cookies, he's just kind of the weakest, at least in my opinion. But you know, it doesn't really matter since he's still a really, really great character. As for my favorite, it could have gone to any of the other spots, but you know what? This spot deserves to go for Golden Cheese Cookie. I really, really love her design. The Egyptian motif, her golden armor and staff, especially in her awakened form. And I know it's not really a character thing, but I really like the setting of her kingdom. It's kind of like a nice mixture of ancient Egyptian and futuristic, which is neat. And now we're finally at the Beast rarity. And finally we have the Beasts, the guys that were before the Ancients before they got corrupted. Ooh. Just like with the Ancients and Legendaries, I really do love all the cookies in that said rarity. But however, unlike the other two, I didn't really have a hard time picking who was my least favorite and my favorite. And as for this guy, depending how you think of them, this might be a genuinely shocking pick or not really surprising. And that being Shadow Milk Cookie. Now, first off, I want to say I really do like him as a character. The court jester-like design is very unique. And it's also very blue. Yabba dee, yabba da. Also, the guy who voices Shadow Milk Cookie did a fucking wonderful job. I don't think I would have ever thought of this character if he wasn't like any other voice, really. But then why is he here? Just like Frost Queen Cookie and Dark Cacao Cookie, I just think the other cookies in the same rarity are just a little bit better. But also, Shadow Milk Cookie just kind of has a problem of overshadowing everybody else. A great example is actually his first appearance, which is now 2 years old. My god, dude, just time flies so fast. Mainly the update that introduced White Lily Cookie. But that being said, I still think he's a really solid character. It's just that he's just surrounded with way more interesting cookies. And finally, to wrap everything up, my favorite cookie of the Beast rarity is Mystic Flower Cookie. She is genuinely my second favorite cookie in the entirety of the series. First off, I do want to say I really do love her design. She takes inspirations from the Gaiuan, I'm fucking butchering that, I'm sorry. I also really like the backstory of her, which I mean, I guess you guys starting to notice the theme. I like when a character has an interesting backstory. I also do like she's the first beast we actually get to have playable. While Shadow Milk was the very first beast cookie to be introduced, Mystic Flower was the first to be actually playable. And while yeah, I usually don't really like to bring up gameplay, but she's surprisingly a pretty great healer. Mystic Flower has all the qualities of an extremely great cookie. She's creepy, she's interesting, and is definitely a very good pick for a first playable beast cookie. And that was my favorite and least favorite cookie of each rarity. Sorry if this is a bit more different than my usual videos. I just want to do something different, especially since, well, we're moving. And also just kind of a nice way to finally talk about cookie runs for once. Yeah.
Joker, my wife left me and my family is going to starve. All I need is Sojiro's credit card number and the 3 wacky numbers on the back.